Title 2. Bills of Exchange. Chapter 9. Form and Interpretation. Sector 126. Bill of Exchange, defined. A bill of exchange is an unconditional order in writing addressed by one person to another, signed by the person giving it, requiring the person to whom it is addressed to pay on demand or at a fixed or determinable future time a sum certain in money to order or to bearer. Sector 127. Bill not an assignment of funds in hands of drawee. A bill of itself does not operate as an assignment of the funds in the hands of the drawee available for the payment thereof, and the drawee is not liable on the bill unless and until he accepts the same. Sector 128. Bill addressed to more than one drawee. A bill may be addressed to two or more drawees jointly, whether they are partners or not, but not to two or more drawees in the alternative or in succession. Sector 129. Inland and foreign bills of exchange. An inland bill of exchange is a bill which is, or on its face purports to be, both drawn and payable within the Philippines. Any other bill is a foreign bill. Unless the contrary appears on the face of the bill, the holder may treat it as an inland bill. Sector 130. When bill may be treated as promissory note. Where in a bill the drawer and drawee are the same person, or where the drawee is a fictitious person, or a person not having capacity to contract, the holder may treat the instrument, at his option, either as a bill of exchange or as a promissory note. Sector 131. Referee in case of need. The drawer of a bill and any indorser may insert thereon the name of a person to whom the holder may resort in case of need, that is to say, in case the bill is dishonored by non-acceptance or non-payment. Such person is called a referee in case of need. It is in the option of the holder to resort to the referee in case of need or not, as he may see fit. Sector 132. Acceptance, how made and so forth. The acceptance of a bill is the signification by the drawee of his assent to the order of the drawee. The acceptance must be in writing and signed by the drawee. It must not express that the drawee will perform his promise by any other means than the payment of money. Sector 133. Holder entitled to acceptance on face of bill. The holder of a bill presenting the same for acceptance may require that the acceptance be written on the bill, and if such request is refused, may treat the bill as dishonored. Sector 134. Acceptance by separate instrument. Where an acceptance is written on a paper other than the bill itself, it does not bind the acceptor except in favor of a person to whom it is shown and who, on the faith thereof, receives the bill for value. Sector 135. Promise to accept, when equivalent to acceptance. An unconditional promise in writing to accept a bill before it is drawn is deemed an actual acceptance in favor of every person who, upon the faith thereof, receives the bill for value. Sector 136. Time allowed drawee to accept. The drawee is allowed 24 hours after presentment in which to decide whether or not he will accept the bill. The acceptance, if given, dates as of the day of presentation. Sector 137. Liability of drawee retaining or destroying bill. Where a drawee to whom a bill is delivered for acceptance destroys the same, or refuses within 24 hours after such delivery, or within such other period as the holder may allow, to return the bill accepted or non-accepted to the holder, he will be deemed to have accepted the same. Sector 138. Acceptance of incomplete bill. A bill may be accepted before it has been signed by the drawer, or while otherwise incomplete, or when it is overdue, or after it has been dishonored by a previous refusal to accept, or by non-payment. But when a bill payable after sight is dishonored by non-acceptance and the drawee subsequently accepts it, the holder, in the absence of any different agreement, is entitled to have the bill accepted as of the date of the first presentment. Sector 139. Kinds of acceptance. An acceptance is either general or qualified. A general acceptance assents without qualification to the order of the drawer. A qualified acceptance in express terms varies the effect of the bill as drawn. Sector 140. What constitutes a general acceptance? An acceptance to pay at a particular place is a general acceptance unless it expressly states that the bill is to be paid there only and not elsewhere. Sector 141. Qualified acceptance. An acceptance is qualified which is a. Conditional, that is to say, which makes payment by the acceptor dependent on the fulfillment of a condition therein stated. b. Partial, that is to say, an acceptance to pay part only of the amount for which the bill is drawn. c. Local, that is to say, an acceptance to pay only at a particular place. d. Qualified as to time. e. The acceptance of some, one or more of the drawees but not of all. Sector 142. Rights of parties as to qualified acceptance. The holder may refuse to take a qualified acceptance, and if he does not obtain an unqualified acceptance, he may treat the bill as dishonored by non-acceptance. Where a qualified acceptance is taken, the drawer and indexers are discharged from liability on the bill, unless they have expressly or impliedly authorized the holder to take a qualified acceptance, or subsequently assent thereto. When the drawer or an indexer receives notice of a qualified acceptance, he must, within a reasonable time, express his dissent to the holder, or he will be deemed to have assented thereto. Chapter X. Presentment for acceptance. Sector 143. When presentment for acceptance must be made. Presentment for acceptance must be made a. Where the bill is payable after sight, or in any other case, where presentment for acceptance is necessary in order to fix the maturity of the instrument, or b. Where the bill expressly stipulates that it shall be presented for acceptance, or c. Where the bill is drawn payable elsewhere than at the residence or place of business of the drawee. In no other case is presentment for acceptance necessary in order to render any party to the bill liable. Sector 144. When failure to present releases drawer and indexer, except as herein otherwise provided, the holder of a bill which is required by the next preceding section to be presented for acceptance must either present it for acceptance or negotiate it within a reasonable time. If he fails to do so, the drawer and all indexers are discharged. Sector 145. Presentment, how made? Presentment for acceptance must be made by or on behalf of the holder at a reasonable hour, on a business day and before the bill is overdue, to the drawee or some person authorized to accept or refuse acceptance on his behalf, and a. Where a bill is addressed to two or more drawees who are not partners, presentment must be made to them all, unless one has authority to accept or refuse acceptance for all, in which case presentment may be made to him only. b. Where the drawee is dead, presentment may be made to his personal representative. c. Where the drawee has been adjudged a bankrupt or an insolvent, or has made an assignment for the benefit of creditors, presentment may be made to him or to his trustee or assignee. Sector 146. On what days presentment may be made? A bill may be presented for acceptance on any day on which negotiable instruments may be presented for payment under the provisions of Sections 72 and 85 of this Act. When Saturday is not otherwise a holiday, presentment for acceptance may be made before 12 o'clock, noon, on that day. Sector 147. Presentment, where time is insufficient. Where the holder of a bill drawn payable elsewhere than at the place of business, or the residence of the drawee has no time, with the exercise of reasonable diligence, to present the bill for acceptance before presenting it for payment on the day that it falls due, the delay caused by presenting the bill for acceptance before presenting it for payment is excused, and does not discharge the drawers and indexers. Sector 148. Where presentment is excused. Presentment for acceptance is excused, and a bill may be treated as dishonored by non-acceptance, in either of the following cases. a. Where the drawee is dead, or has absconded, or is a fictitious person or a person not having capacity to contract by bill. b. Where, After the exercise of reasonable diligence, presentment cannot be made. C. Where, although presentment has been irregular, acceptance has been refused on some other ground. Sector 149. When dishonored by non-acceptance. A bill is dishonored by non-acceptance. A. When it is duly presented for acceptance and such an acceptance as is prescribed by this Act is refused or cannot be obtained. B. When presentment for acceptance is excused, and the bill is not accepted. Sector 150. Duty of holder where bill not accepted. Where a bill is duly presented for acceptance and is not accepted within the prescribed time, the person presenting it must treat the bill as dishonored by non-acceptance or he loses the right of recourse against the drawer and indicers. Sector 151. Right of holder where bill not accepted. When a bill is dishonored by non-acceptance, an immediate right of recourse against the drawer and indicers accrues to the holder and no presentment for payment is necessary. Chapter 11. Protest. Sector 152. In what cases protest necessary? Where a foreign bill appearing on its face to be such is dishonored by non-acceptance, it must be duly protested for non-acceptance, and where such bill which has not previously been dishonored by non-acceptance is dishonored by non-payment, it must be duly protested for non-payment. If it is not so protested, the drawer and indicers are discharged. Where a bill does not appear on its face to be a foreign bill, protest thereof in case of dishonor is unnecessary. Sector 153. Protest, how made? The protest must be annexed to the bill, or must contain a copy thereof, and must be under the hand and seal of the notary making it, and must specify a. The time and place of presentment. b. The fact that presentment was made and the manner thereof. c. The cause or reason for protesting the bill. d. The demand made and the answer given, if any, or the fact that the drawee or acceptor could not be found. Section 154. Protest, by whom made? Protest may be made by a. A notary public, or b. By any respectable resident of the place where the bill is dishonored, in the presence of two or more credible witnesses. Sector 155. Protest, when to be made. When a bill is protested, such protest must be made on the day of its dishonor unless delay is excused as herein provided. When a bill has been duly noted, the protest may be subsequently extended as of the date of the noting. Sector 156. Protest, where made. A bill must be protested at the place where it is dishonored, except that when a bill drawn payable at the place of business or residence of some person other than the drawee has been dishonored by non-acceptance, it must be protested for non-payment at the place where it is expressed to be payable, and no further presentment for payment to, or demand on the drawee is necessary. Sector 157. Protest both for non-acceptance and non-payment. A bill which has been protested for non-acceptance may be subsequently protested for non-payment. Sector 158. Protest before maturity where acceptor insolvent. Where the acceptor has been adjudged a bankrupt or an insolvent, or has made an assignment for the benefit of creditors before the bill matures, the holder may cause the bill to be protested for better security against the drawer and indicers. Sector 159. When protest dispensed with. Protest is dispensed with by any circumstances which would dispense with notice of dishonor. Delay in noting or protesting is excused when delay is caused by circumstances beyond the control of the holder and not imputable to his default, misconduct, or negligence. When the cause of delay ceases to operate, the bill must be noted or protested with reasonable diligence. Sector 160. Protest where bill is lost and so forth. When a bill is lost or destroyed or is wrongly detained from the person entitled to hold it, protest may be made on a copy or written particulars thereof. Chapter 12. Acceptance for honor. Sector 161. When bill may be accepted for honor. When a bill of exchange has been protested for dishonor by non-acceptance or protested for better security and is not overdue, any person not being a party already liable thereon may, with the consent of the holder, intervene and accept the bill super protest for the honor of any party liable thereon, or for the honor of the person for whose account the bill is drawn. The acceptance for honor may be for part only of the sum for which the bill is drawn, and where there has been an acceptance for honor for one party, there may be a further acceptance by a different person for the honor of another party. Sector 162. Acceptance for honor, how made? An acceptance for honor super protest must be in writing and indicate that it is an acceptance for honor, and must be signed by the acceptor for honor. Sector 163. When deemed to be an acceptance for honor of the drawer. Where an acceptance for honor does not expressly state for whose honor it is made, it is deemed to be an acceptance for the honor of the drawer. Sector 164. Liability of the acceptor for honor. The acceptor for honor is liable to the holder and to all parties to the bill subsequent to the party for whose honor he has accepted. Sector 165. Agreement of acceptor for honor. The acceptor for honor, by such acceptance, engages that he will, on due presentment, pay the bill according to the terms of his acceptance provided it shall not have been paid by the drawee and provided also that it shall have been duly presented for payment and protested for non-payment and notice of dishonor given to him. Sector 166. Maturity of bill payable after sight, accepted for honor. Where a bill payable after sight is accepted for honor, its maturity is calculated from the date of the noting for non-acceptance and not from the date of the acceptance for honor. Sector 167. Protest of bill accepted for honor, and so forth. Where a dishonored bill has been accepted for honor super protest or contains a referee in case of need, it must be protested for non-payment before it is presented for payment to the acceptor for honor or referee in case of need. Sector 168. Presentment for payment to acceptor for honor, how made? Presentment for payment to the acceptor for honor must be made as follows. A. If it is to be presented in the place where the protest for non-payment was made, it must be presented not later than the day following its maturity. B. If it is to be presented in some other place than the place where it was protested, then it must be forwarded within the time specified in Sector 104. Sector 169. When delay in making presentment is excused. The provisions of Sector 81 apply where there is delay in making presentment to the acceptor for honor or referee in case of need. Sector 170. Dishonor of bill by acceptor for honor. When the bill is dishonored by the acceptor for honor, it must be protested for non-payment by him. Chapter 13. Payment for honor. Sector 171. Who may make payment for honor? Where a bill has been protested for non-payment, any person may intervene and pay it super protest for the honor of any person liable thereon, or for the honor of the person for whose account it was drawn. Sector 172. Payment for honor, how made? The payment for honor super protest, in order to operate as such and not as a mere voluntary payment, must be attested by a notarial act of honor which may be appended to the protest or form an extension to it. Sector 173. Declaration before payment for honor. The notarial act of honor must be founded on a declaration made by the payer for honor, or by his agent in that behalf, declaring his intention to pay the bill for honor and for whose honor he pays. Sector 174. Preference of parties offering to pay for honor. Where two or more persons offer to pay a bill for the honor of different parties, the person whose payment will discharge most parties to the bill is to be given the preference. Sector 175. Effect on subsequent parties where bill is paid for honor. Where a bill has been paid for honor, all parties subsequent to the party for whose honor it is paid are discharged, but the payer for honor is subrogated for, and succeeds to, both the rights and duties of the holder as regards the party for whose honor he pays and all parties liable to the latter. Sector 176. Where holder refuses to receive payment super protest. Where the holder of a bill refuses to receive payment super protest, he loses his right of recourse against any party who would have been discharged by such payment. Sector 177. Rights of payer for honor. The payer for honor, on paying to the holder the amount of the bill and the notarial expenses incidental to its dishonor, is entitled to receive both the bill itself and the protest. Chapter 14. Bills in asset. Sector 178. Bills in set constitute one bill. Where a bill is drawn in a set, each part of the set being numbered and containing a reference to the other parts, the whole of the parts constitutes one bill. Sector 179. Rights of holders where different parts are negotiated. Where two or more parts of a set are negotiated to different holders in due course, the holder whose title first accrues is, as between such holders, the true owner of the bill. But nothing in this section affects the rights of a person who, in due course, accepts or pays the parts first presented to him. Sector 180. Liability of holder who endorses two or more parts of a set to different persons. When the holder of a set endorses two or more parts to different persons, he is liable on every such part, and every endorser subsequent to him is liable on the part he has himself endorsed, as if such parts were separate bills. Sector 181. Acceptance of bills drawn in sets. The acceptance may be written on any part, and it must be written on one part only. If the drawee accepts more than one part and such accepted parts negotiated to different holders in due course, he is liable on every such part as if it were a separate bill. Sector 182. Payment by acceptor of bills drawn in sets. When the acceptor of a bill drawn in a set pays it without requiring the part bearing his acceptance to be delivered up to him, and the part at maturity is outstanding in the hands of a holder in due course, he is liable to the holder thereon. Sector 183. Effect of discharging one of a set. Except as herein otherwise provided, where any one part of a bill drawn in a set is discharged by payment or otherwise, the whole bill is discharged. Chapter 15. Promissory notes and checks. Sector 184. Promissory note, defined. A negotiable promissory note, within the meaning of this Act, is an unconditional promise in writing made by one person to another, signed by the maker, engaging to pay on demand, or at a fixed or determinable future time, a sum certain in money to order or to bearer. Where a note is drawn to the maker's own order, it is not complete until endorsed by him. Sector 185. Check, defined. A check is a bill of exchange drawn on a bank payable on demand. Except as herein otherwise provided, the provisions of this Act applicable to a bill of exchange payable on demand apply to a check. Sector 186. Within what time a check must be presented. A check must be presented for payment within a reasonable time after its issue, or the drawer will be discharged from liability thereon to the extent of the loss caused by the delay. Sector 187. Certification of check, effect of. Where a check is certified by the bank on which it is drawn, the certification is equivalent to an acceptance. Sector 188. Effect where the holder of check procures it to be accepted or certified. Where the holder of a check procures it to be accepted or certified, the drawer and all endorsers are discharged from liability thereon. Sector 189. When check operates as an assignment. A check of itself does not operate as an assignment of any part of the funds to the credit of the drawer with the bank, and the bank is not liable to the holder, unless and until it accepts or certifies the check. Chapter 16. General Provisions. Sector 190. Short title. This Act shall be known as the Negotiable Instruments Law. Sector 191. Definition and meaning of terms. In this Act, unless the context otherwise requires, acceptance means an acceptance completed by delivery or notification. Action includes counterclaim and set off. Bank includes any person or association of persons carrying on the business of banking, whether incorporated or not. Bearer means the person in possession of a bill or note which is payable to bearer. Bill means bill of exchange, and note means negotiable promissory note. Delivery means transfer of possession, actual or constructive, from one person to another. Holder means the payee or endorsee of a bill or note who is in possession of it, or the bearer thereof. Endorsement means an endorsement completed by delivery. Instrument means negotiable instrument. Issue means the first delivery of the instrument, complete in form, to a person who takes it as a holder. Person includes a body of persons, whether incorporated or not. Value means valuable consideration. Written includes printed. And writing includes print. Sector 192. Persons primarily liable on instrument. The person primarily liable on an instrument is the person who, by the terms of the instrument, is absolutely required to pay the same. All other parties are secondarily liable. Sector 193. Reasonable time, what constitutes? In determining what is a reasonable time or an unreasonable time, regard is to be had to the nature of the instrument, the usage of trade or business with respect to such instruments, and the facts of the particular case. Sector 194. Time, how computed, when last day falls on holiday. Where the day, or the last day for doing any act herein required or permitted to be done falls on a Sunday or on a holiday, the act may be done on the next succeeding secular or business day. Sector 195. Application of Act. The provisions of this Act do not apply to negotiable instruments made and delivered prior to the taking effect hereof. Sector 196. Cases not provided for in Act. Any case not provided for in this Act shall be governed by the provisions of existing legislation or in default thereof, by the rules of the law merchant. Sector 197. Repeals. All acts and laws and parts thereof inconsistent with this Act are hereby repealed. Sector 198. Time when Act takes effect. This Act shall take effect 90 days after its publication in the Official Gazette of the Philippines shall have been completed. Enacted, February 3, 1911.